He's a player that can be proud of his performance and continue to show up here as we do get ourselves into Champion Select.
And we'll see if he gets some of his signature picks like the Ari. You know, if you are going to go out, you might as well make a splash on the international stage, remind everyone why you got here. I know the Ari's been banned across from Envy a couple of times. I would love to see him get to flex with the champion.
Well, for now, kind of as expected, keeping it fairly standard between these
He's not
two.
going to get it.
Galio there for ITZ and LeBlanc the ban there for Mega. Jace also going to join the pool, so taking that one away as well.
And this actually kind of tells me what the priority has been. We've seen a lot of Hecarim priority between these groups, and because Jace is banned, Envy himself plays a really mean Jace, and it can be flexed between both Tay and Envy. So the fact that they're banning it on blue side tells me that Hecarim really has taken kind of that big priority spot in Group B as kind of like the quintessential blind pick.
Also Jarvan banned there, so pretty solid jungler to take away, especially with Rek'Sai also banned away from Shinny. These junglers will be pushed down a few picks, and Morgana, actually the last takeaway there by Mega, so we'll see if Hecarim is indeed the first pick of choice here. Oh, it's Taric.
Ooh. So we didn't separate the Sona Taric combination here. This now puts pressure on Mega to say, okay, either we let this go through and we have something to break it, or we must separate this combo. Now, oftentimes globally, we've seen champions like Varus who can apply the Grievous Runes, or even an all-in support like Blitzcrank to try to take abuse of the Sona Taric fragility in the lane phase. I like the fact that they're also separating the Kindred.
Yeah, I like that as well. I mean, certainly a pick that Shinny as well practiced on. June also likes the champion, so makes sense to take it away from your opponent and break up some more potential combos. You said Blitzcrank, not that popular on an international stage, but Thresh might do the trick if that's what they lock in.
Yeah, if it gets locked in, the same mentality here applies. You can even go for the Callista here. You're still going to have a kill-oriented lane, and I feel like this is also then kind of gut-checking them. Are you really going to go for the Sona Taric? Were you going to pivot with the extra information, the fact that it was a Callista? ITZ doubled down. They're like, no, we can survive this.
Didn't take long. Sona locked in pretty quickly there, and of course, one more pick now for INTZ. You said Hecarim wasn't good enough to first pick, but they'll take it third after Sona and Taric.
I expected Sona and Taric to be banned away. Who thought that this one was going to go through the draft phase again? INTZ are like, everyone plays it here. It's our turn to flex with this. And again, if you haven't seen Sona and Taric, what it does is it just makes your 5v5 incredible, but it can be abused in the lane phase. When we get into game, we'll keep a closer eye on it and see if Mega are able to take that bluff and try to break it.
I like what you said about, again, wanting to apply pressure and all in. Sona is a very vulnerable champion, so I think Callista Thresh is a good lane to pick him off. And unfortunately for Envy, his chance to shine on a signature pick will not be this game at least. Ari banned away in phase 2.
It's kind of a more abstract concept, but INTZ, they really rely on their aggressive forward vision because everything is about Shinny and getting him that information. So champions like LeBlanc and Ari not just work well for Envy because he himself is a great assassin player, but when the team has that extra mobility in the mid lane that allows him to free himself up, place vision a little bit more safely, it just means so much more for INTZ. So if you have a pick like, let's say Envy goes Nautilus or something like that, I feel like it locks him into the lane a little bit too much. You're not getting that same forward aggressive vision, and that in turn hurts Shinny's kind of tempo through the jungle.
Makes sense. There is Syndra, the other ban from Mega, so 2 mid lane bans, and Azir then Kennen, the bans on the INTZ side, so losing a mid and top laner there. It feels like G4 is unsurprisingly not going to get the Azir since the last game these two teams played against each other. But we'll see what they have lined up here for pick number 4. It is Ryze, was left untouched here in the bans.
So something that I want to point out with Mega's composition is their threat around the Baron. Not only having the Callista as well as the Kindred, who are 2 carries that can very quickly burn down the Baron and then secure it with the Rend, but also now having the Realm Warp unlocked with the Ryze, that if you're ever out of position from INTZ, it's very easy for Mega to immediately snap pull the trigger, Realm Warp onto the Baron, and just check you. Do you have this warded? If yes, maybe you get here in time, and if no, it's ours for free.
Well, speaking of catching people off guard, Aurelia and Skarner, the last 2, to kind of add into the team composition. Aurelia, perfectly good champion, I think fits the style of champions that is at least being taken away from Envy. And Shinny knocked down a few pegs as far as picks goes. We'll go to Skarner here as Vladimir, the last pick overall here for Mega.
I like the layered CC that INTZ have going. They can open up team fights with a lot of picks. They've got a lot of speed and mobility between the Skarner and the Hecarim, but it is still, you know, the backbone of kind of like a 5v5 comp when you have Sona and Taric together. On the other side, it feels like Mega recognized this is probably going to go late. If it is a 5v5, we've also brought our own firepower that can scale in by having both Ryze and Vladimir there for the hyper late game.
Looks like maybe G4 will get the Vlad here as well. We'll of course wait till 20 seconds where the picks will be locked in, but Hecarim going where we expected in the top lane there for Tay will have Ignite and TP by the looks of things. So G4 will actually have the Vladimir here, versus the Aurelia, which leaves Rocky on the rise versus the Hecarim.
And Rocky's kind of had a bit of a hit and miss tournament. He is known as more of kind of an all-rounder and a stable top laner, so I feel like Rise really fits into that wheelhouse. And I feel like Mega, you know, you've got June on the Kindred, you have hard CC in at least 2 of your lanes with the Thresh, the Kalista ultimate, as well as the Rise route right there. I need June to kind of show up in the early game. I know that Kindred can look to hard farm, but I want June to have a presence here, especially against the likes of a Skarner, who really is trying to power farm to that level 6. Maybe looks for some windows if he gets a cheeky wiggle off and finds some CC.
We talked about it as well, though. Pressuring Sona Taric is something that you feel pretty compelled to do when you're playing against it, because as you mentioned, in the mid to late game 5v5, it's pretty unbearable playing against those 2 champions. So if June can make his way down there, certainly bottom lane is the lane to gank with how they've set it up.
Or even if he doesn't need to gank the Thresh Kalista lane, he can try to just abuse that side of the jungle if Sona and Taric are pushed in. So my eyes, again, are on both these junglers. I want to see some life here.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here as the team spread out onto Summoner's Rift. Game 5 of the day here in Group B. We'll see if there's anything special here at level 1. Not expecting it, but
ITZ were actually known for their delayed level 1 invades, or at least their level 1 plays. Obviously with the Sona Taric, that makes it a little bit harder, but how they try to bait out teams by what information they give. So you can see Mills on your screen right now, kind of peeking around the corner, showing his head, while Envy and Tay are figuring out where they want to attack or where they want to stack on the map. Again, with this composition, I'm not expecting some sort of delay invade, but they might try to hide where Shinny is going to start.
As you mentioned, certainly eyes on junglers for these first few minutes, if not the rest of the game, so where they start will be pretty important. We can see Shinny right now is on the right-hand side, although there are 3 stacked in that brush, so maybe ITZ are going to go for that delayed invade you mentioned onto the Spire. That actually means they're going to maybe get jumped on, but just a Sona there to get a bit of vision. And
you'll also notice that when teams face ITZ, it is something that's fairly easy to scout out. So usually the level 1s look a little bit different when you face this Brazilian squad, because they are quite well known for their fiendish level 1s.
Well, today, nothing of the sort here. Just a red buff start for both sides, so that means, of course, Skarner pathing towards top, Kindred up towards the bot lane.
And again, reminder, we'll focus in on Sona and Taric and how this one really works. You've got the Spell Thieves on Sona, and Mills is not in charge of hitting the CS. He's in charge of hitting both Pop and Lloyd. He wants to stack that as quickly as possible, upgrade his support item, and then swap places with Taric, where then he's picking up the CS.
Yeah, again, not a traditional carry in either of these positions, so just trying to get the gold efficiently across the 2. As Shinny, with that ward there, will actually skip Raptors after Red still has that smite. Might just be going buff to buff and into the crab. We'll see exactly where he wants to path. Tay right now has eaten too many Rise auto attacks by the looks of things.
I think it's Shinny trying to respond to the fact that Tay has pressure advantage right now. He saw that the Mark was spawned onto the Scuttle Crab and tried to get it as quickly as possible, whereas June looks like he's mostly going for a traditional full clear.
Shinny will finish off this crab. You can see June over on his blue side of the jungle is going to take down the blue and then the Gromp there as well. Shinny with just some coverage, going to go back down to the rest of his jungle now.
And I want to kind of quickly hone in on Hecarim up here. We've had some weird builds on the Hecarim. I feel like pros have finally really nailed it on. You start with the Corrupting Pot, and with the Corrupting Potion as well as Biscuit and kind of the health back that you can get from your W, the thing about Hecarim is he used to have a lot of problems with his mana spam. It was really hard for him to contest push by spamming Q so many times, but it feels like now he's really been evened out, as well as having all that extra damage onto his Q. So that's partly why he's really returned to prominence here, as setting up for a possible dive.
Yeah, we expected something here. They are going to kick it off. Hook does not land, and that stun actually finds 2. ITZ going to turn it back around. June taking a tower shot as well.
Well, June is being proactive. They are trying to see what they can get, maybe eyeing up this bottom lane. How can they break it? Is someone going to make a mistake? But I'm glad that they pulled the plug on that one.
Well, round 2, maybe just towards the Krugs there instead, so June will make sure at least to get some farm on this side of the map. That will split things for a short while, although Shinny is back down towards this red side of his jungle, actually on the Raptor camp that he skipped over earlier. So I'm not sure we'll see another attempt anytime soon. June just going to take what he can of the camp and then dance back as Envy. Looking here for G4 and mid. Stun did miss, but at least gets the pull out.
Okay, round 3.
A flash play. Hook is not going to land. Good flash there from Redbird.
And I really like the target selection there to look for Redbird as your priority, since Mills is running the clan. So at least gets the flash out. He is still holding on to the heal, but, you know, it's been, what, 3 looks? Maybe he goes for a 4th one?
is, of course, the tougher of the pair to kill. Tarek relatively durable, but at least the pressure is being applied. And as you can see, I guess we should compare Kalista and Tarek CS. Right now, Lloyd farming pretty comfortably, if nothing else. So Shinny actually down towards this lane as well. Gonna try and get things pushed out, so maybe they can go for a recall.
Yeah, I think exactly that's the right call. Kindred's already spent so much time down here. Pull your jungler, make sure that he helps you push that wave in so it can't get frozen on you, and give you this space to look for that back timer.
Meanwhile, in top, Rocky in trouble there. Tay with a good chunk of damage as Conqueror procs. Into June is actually back up towards this side of the map, but is going to take the recall and probably TP back anyway, so it looks like maybe top lane will just reset as Tay doing nicely there in the little 1v1 exchange.
Yeah, and it's one of these advantages that Hecarim has. It's kind of like the same mentality as Sion, where Sion can have his ultimate, and early on, instead of using the ultimate cross-map, he just uses it as a pseudo-teleport to run himself back up into lane. Hecarim's in a very similar spot, where depending on how Rocky does with this creep wave, which he is trying to get it in front of his tower, he's forced to use the TP, whereas Hecarim then gets that extra added summoner spell to do whatever he wants on the map, because he can walk back, or, you know, he'll TP back.
Yep.
That's fine too.
Doesn't
he wants to break the freeze.
Doesn't want to gallop back today. As I think Shinny did get that Raptor, now level 4, excuse me. Actually looking mid, pops Predator onto G4. And we're going to try and line up the stun. There's the first stun landing in. Follow-up stun there from Aurelia and the pull down. Plus Ignite. There's the Lantern out to safety. Now the hook going to land. What a roam from the butt side there, and Envy is going to get it. Shinny though flashes over for the next kill. That's flat down, but first blood did go over to Mega. Now Jun just trying to find the next follow-up kill here. Shinny in enemy territory, which is not where you want to be when you're marked by the Kindred.
Wiggle away!
We're going towards a creep wave, but I think inevitable demise is now on the menu for poor Skarner. He's into the tower. I think Wolf got a nibble, and June does get the kill.
Disaster. You can see that they expended so much. They knew that they had to go for the trade, so both flashes over the wall to try to follow G4. And it looked really good to start. I felt like they layered their CC correctly. They kept Vlad out of pool for a very long time, but just didn't keep track of where the roam was from the Thresh. He had reset. He was walking mid because he was going to place a ward. And in the meantime, hey, my Vladimir's being ganked. I'm here just in time.
Really well played there for Pop. Gets the hook on the right target, and then the follow-up's relatively straightforward.
Yeah, and then there's both expended flashes. And, you know, if you're already that deep, go for it.
Back at it. June actually in mid lane there. Envy forced to pop Vanguard's edge just to get him out of the lane. G4 does have Hemo Plague, as he's now leveled up to level 6. But it does seem like some attention is starting to be put more towards the mid and bottom section of the map.
And it's going to be curious where either jungler wants to attack here. I feel like June's kind of made a stance on the bottom lane. He doesn't seem to be wanting to peek back in there, but maybe he changes his tune now that Lloyd will have access to level 5 pretty soon here. But meanwhile, his jungle and his top side is completely collapsing.
At least Rocky's keeping the CS up, actually 10 ahead, but losing this rare buff cannot feel good for the Kindred. Looks like Tay's going to get that, which will make the lane quite a bit better for the Hecarim. But Tay actually sitting on a decent amount of gold, I have to assume, given that he's only hitting with the null magic mantle. Yeah, 800, not too much. Guess couldn't get too much off that first TP.
Yeah, I really like his rush of the Merc Treads there, especially against the likes of Ryze.
June actually now continuing the pressure on the, I guess, the strong side of the map for him. Pops that Skarner Spire.
It's unfortunate that he's facing kind of like the double wombo of it's Tay that's taking control of his top side, meanwhile Skarner is still clearing out all of his bottom side. So while you can see that June is trying to play to his strong side of the map where Lloyd and Pop do have push advantage and have pressure, he's just not getting anything for it. So I think he's going to settle on the dragon.
Yeah, I think we'll call that something. Looks like Ocean Drake first here as well, so not a bad one to pick up. We'll help out nice and early here into the laning phase. So G4 going to move in just to, you know, help out, provide some assistance. As Lloyd and Pop continue to try and get those turret plates almost at a second one, Castle Creeps couldn't do quite enough work.
And frankly, that's actually a really nice dragon to deny away from the Sona turret composition. Can you imagine how obnoxious that would be? Like
yes,
already between all the kills,
can.
and then you have the regen on Ocean? What would you ever do?
Remind me when old Soraka. To get regen. Oh, I don't want to think about it. Anyway, Pop and Lloyd continuing to push things in. Hook is going to land, but it's only onto Redbird. And Shinny is down here as well. Predator Pop, level 6, ready to go. There's the smite down. Oh, what an ulti! Pulls him out of the Skarner ult.
Denied. Where are you going?
Nowhere after that. Pop just popped right out. He's fine.
And that's devastating because that's a huge cooldown that was basically wasted for nothing right there. Now, Mills will get access to level 6 pretty soon here, probably next time he returns to the wave. And then maybe you make a play around the crescendo, but that's frankly pretty devastating because you needed something for Shinny to respond with losing the dragon over.
June also continuing to hammer down the Scuttle Crab, still looking, so in the hunt for more marks, is going to get one there, so make it 3 now actually for the Kindred. June actually having a really nice start to this game for himself. And Shinny, yes, he is applying pressure, but hasn't really landed as much of the pressure as, again, Envy going to dance back onto G4, but I think this time we'll recognize that people are missing from the bot lane.
I think, now that I'm trying to think long-term here, I mean, for Mills and Redbird, because it is the Taric, maybe you say that it works out over the course of the lane phase, because now Kalista doesn't have an all-in ultimate since she used it to disengage the team fight. So maybe you try to rationalize it for ITZ that, hey, we wanted a pretty stock standard, slow-paced bot lane anyway, without access to Kalista ult. That buys us X amount of time, so we're fine losing out on a Skarner ult there.
Perhaps, as Rocky popping back into the top side of the map. Just getting those waves pushed out. June actually has finally made his way back towards his Krog, so took them despite having all this time mostly spent here on the bottom lane, but of course that is Shinny now onto the Raptor camp as a result.
Just trying to peek in on how many marks June had. It's not going great.
It's 3, I think. He's getting there.
He was just denied another one.
Oh, well that's unfortunate. 4 is of course the sweet spot for Kindred. So still holding on to the 3 for now. Envy also getting the lane pushed up here in mid. Actually got on the early Negatron. Will eventually, if not earlier, turn into a Wit's End. But I like the Sheen here as well. Curious to see kind of when Envy chooses to finish those first few items.
I think at this point he's fine to just sit in the lane. It can turn into a farm lane. And then if you just have the confidence that you'll execute better on it. With the Sheen, I mean, Aurelia's all-in potential is disgusting. And you can see that they keep trying to go for it. And it's basically, can they kill him before G4 gets the pool off?
I think often people ask, you know, what's it going to take for melee carries to really be strong in League of Legends? I guess maybe the answer is 2 supports in your bot lane farming away.
I mean, calling Aurelia melee carry is...
When you have Sona and Taric buffing you up, I think anyone's a carry at that stage. You could turn this.
No, not that she's a carry, but that she's melee.
Oh.
Like, because her range is pretty absurd. I just like, isn't that disingenuous? I mean, technically.
Yeah, she has to auto-attack you, and the auto-attacks are melee, but I see what you're getting at. Things going just fine, I suppose, here. Mills and Redbird continuing to play back, but again expecting to be pushed into this lane. Only conceded 2 turret plates. I guess will count as a win, although Demolish perhaps winding up will change that. Things are slowing down just a little here, but few kills in these first few minutes. Actually, Rift Herald, the next look here for INTZ.
And I like this response from Shinny, recognizing that, you know, Tay is constantly having priority in this lane. It's always pushed forward. Rocky's basically been relegated underneath his tower, so they're trying to use this space to stop off the Rift Herald. But the issue is that he didn't account for the mid lane.
Got the mini crab at least. Rocky now going to get tagged. That flash straight into the stun. Impale going to land in from Shinny. And there's an onslaught of shadows, because why not? Shinny going to grab the kill as Crescendo will miss in the bot lane. Lloyd had to flash though.
Just layer it all on. Use every cooldown available. G4's gotten away so many times, like, no, press R as many times as possible. This one we're getting.
Mills had to flash as well, though, as we check in on the summoner spell. So looks like just traded there as Sona tried to find a pick off as Pop was roaming up towards that top lane fight, which ended very swiftly with those ultimates being chained in.
Yeah, see if they can punish maybe Lloyd not having access to the flash. Kalista's still fairly hard to lock down, especially for Taric. Redbird's going to have to be on point with those dazzles if he ever wants to hit the Kalista.
Blade of the Ruin King also done for Lloyd, so in fighting shape, particularly given his lane opponents, as G4 finally got his proto belt all together as well. Kind of getting to the point where Vladimir starts to take over some of these situations. And as a result, June, of course, pushing into this side, looking for that red buff. Not going to grab it. Shinny will get it, but may lose the Raptor camp here. And that is mark number 4 over to Kindred, so finally able to pick that up.
Yeah, and June's going to feel a lot better here. One thing that we need to talk about as we head closer into these 5v5s, especially as the dragons are becoming more contested by both teams, is just the amount of sheer carries that Mega are going to have and when these carries come online. It feels like their composition bridges really nicely in terms of when their power windows are. You have Kalista, who's really that mid-threat 2-item power spike. You have the scaling potential of the Rise and the Vladimir, and then because you have a carry-oriented jungler, it just feels like even if you grab one carry, there's still someone else that you need to deal with. Whereas because it's Sona Taric, Mills is really dependent on kind of like Lich Bane before Sona becomes an absolute terror. So we need Envy and Tay to really pop off for this composition to work.
And again, you get it all together. They certainly can do that, but needing to buy time if nothing else here for INTZ as Midlanders will exchange a couple of cooldowns. June also going to get found out. Will get stunned, but managed to hop over the wall before getting grabbed. Shinny was back down here trying something, but no Impale just yet, although he does have it available.
I mean, we say he's trying, but I just feel like comms are like, it's fine, we'll farm it out.
I mean, There is some niceness of the reliability of Sonatarek when the late game rolls around. Flash, oh, what a pull from G4. But now going to get stunned. There's the Impale, and not going to get away from this one. Jun, oh, the left of Spider, take it back. G4 going to live for a little while longer. Vanguard's at pop. Shinny going to go down into stasis. The TP in, Onslaught of Shadows. Pop gets the first kill, but they will trade. As then be able to grab the next one. Tay taking turret hit for that hook. Did not land. Quite an exchange there. It's only 1 for 1.
And Shinny cannot catch a break. He is first to the punch, but it's no longer always just a 2v1. Someone else is always responding, always has the counter punch, and is always beating him in the end.
If there was ever a time to remind you of the rule of play-by-play is never announce death prematurely, that little exchange will tell you why. As Lloyd gonna miss the dazzle, but a great on-point crescendo there from Mills. He's gonna force Lloyd to burn the heal. Now Pop in there as G4, looking for his own solo kill, takes down Envy in the main lane, grabs the double offs and says thank you very much.
And across map, everything looking so good for Mega right there. The fact that they were able to disengage Lloyd from Redbird and Mills, who were trying to use information. Everyone's mid. Let's see if we can punish the flash with Callisto. Heals, walks out of it, midway. Meanwhile, back to mid lane, G4 just styles on Envy.
Going for it again, this time onto the jungle of G4, tanking multiple turret shots here. But again, level 11 Vlad starting to really hit his stride. Pops the empowered Q, Shinny down to half health.
And it's the confidence of knowing that Shinny doesn't have access to the ultimate, so he can be as obnoxious as he wants.
Rocky out of there, actually back to the wave. As this jungler's going to finish off the Rift Herald. Nice little support there from the Rise, but Jun does grab the Eye of the Herald. And now going to have to flip over the wall away from Shinny, but that one's very straightforward at this stage.
Would you say it's a flip or a somersault? Maybe a cartwheel?
I think it's a cartwheel. I think that's exactly where we need to be. So we'll watch this one again. It was quite the exchange.
Okay, very nicely timed on the pool. He does get the Skarner off in the meantime. I feel like there's a lot of situations where, and we'll see if Shinny decides to go for aggressive plays like this, where Skarners will just decide, I can't go for the pull. They're going to press W before I ever get there, and they never try it. I say always test him once. See what the reflexes is. See if that guy's had his Wheaties, if he's ready to match you for a reaction speed there. Maybe he doesn't do it to G4 again, but keep the dreams alive, Shinny.
Yeah, really clean combo there from G4. Flash, E for the slow, Chemo Plague, Proto Belt, and then Q. Picks up the buffs, and I don't think Envy had the wit's end, but it was not enough to save him in that last exchange, if nothing else. But has now finished it, although G4 has now just finished his Zhonya, so all of a sudden the Vladimir looking a lot scarier than the last few minutes.
He's not going to test the reaction speed anymore. He's not going to test the pool. He's not going to test the Zhonya's Hourglass. I think G4 is now not a viable target for Skarner.
He's earned the respect. As Riftchild is summoned here in the bot lane. Going to try and get the first turret, which doesn't have any extra juicy plates on it, but 3v3 or maybe 4v3 if you want to count Shelly. Going to charge in, get a good amount of damage onto the turret, but not enough to finish it off. So still that first brick on the table.
I think it was sizing up about how much they were going to expend for a possible dive, how much they wanted the tower, and I think because Infernal is spawning within a minute, it was the decision to say, don't blow major cooldowns here. Skarner isn't going to have his flash around that Infernal spawn time, so let's try to abuse windows there.
Yep, wanted access back to the sweeper probably as well. Fate's call here, aggressive. Pop with a flay, lands in next to Redbird, looking for the Q. He's going to land it. Arrow starting to come out. Good crescendo. Snags 2 there from Mills, and that's enough to stop that play.
They've got the creep wave pushed up to their tower, however, so it's going to be a bit of a speed bump as someone's got to go grab that and bring it to the tower.
And look, they still got cooldowns. Redbird did have to use both summoners, and as you mentioned already, that Infernal Drake is up in 30 seconds. Shinny, though, deciding to gank on the top side, taking to kick things off, launching onto Rocky. What a flash out of the Onslaught of Shadows! And Rocky still tags Shinny. Gonna dive this time. That Impale should seal the deal, and that's Rise falling down.
And finally, Shinny's able to make it count on the map, but meanwhile, Mega are still uncontested in the bottom lane. Should be able to either crash this, get some chip damage, and can fall back to that Infernal if they choose.
Yeah, Mega starting to really pick up the pace of the game. You said it already, Sonatarek is not something you want to leave marinating for too long. So that's an extra turret there. Drake is now theirs for the taking if they want to go over to it, but they'll take the enemy red buff first just to kind of collect it all, and a mark for Jun, most importantly.
I'm just curious if they're going to immediately turn towards it, yeah. Or if it was going to be a situation where they try to get in some cheeky backs, grab all of that extra gold that they had accumulated, and then come back for the Infernal, but stack it all on top.
Exactly, just why not have it all, Frostcurrent, as there's the Infernal over. Tay did get the top lane outer turret, so with the Trinity Force now done, Hecarim is feeling fairly fine. But Mega starting to open up a lead. I think more of an objective. Up a tower, up 3 Drakes to 0, 2 Oceans, and an Infernal is nice. Even though ITZ are up in gold, it's not by much. And yes, they are still relying on the Sona and the Tarek, and their general 5v5 to kind of pull them through the mid to late game. Not there yet, and I think Mega have done a good job identifying places of weakness and just kind of poking at them.
Yeah, and it feels like ITZ are starting to approach this item power spike where they can start grouping up and try to abuse the composition. Again, you're looking for the Lich Bane, which Sona does have access to the Sheen. Just take another look at this one. Really impressed that Shinji managed to tag Rocky there to make sure that he got the slow to allow for the gap closer. Because, reminder, he didn't have flash. I thought for certain without flash that Skarner was going to be worthless on the map, but Shinji makes it count.
Good aim. And Shinji's able to snag that kill. Junno continuing to just pick up jungle, actually working on that Black Cleaver, has both components and isn't too far away from finishing it off, I have to imagine. Also nice to see the early QSS here from Lod. Kind of knows that he's gotten a decent amount of gold, can kind of afford to make a pit stop here for this item, because again, you do not want to be a Kalista that gets Skarner ulti. That's one of the few ways they can really catch you.
I totally get it, you know, paying the QSX tax against the Skarner, as well as, you know, you got the Dazzle, you have the Crescendo.
Oh no, Hecarim, you know, there's lots of things that can snag you.
I just feel like it feels real bad for Kalista because she is so reliant on kind of staying ahead of the clock and looking for that 2-item power spike. We'll hold that
Surprise! G4 baiting once again. MB gonna go down, and Shinny, a little too late to try and save it. Does grab the Impale though in onto June, but Lamb's Fight is there, gonna pop it now, and that may call off the rest of the play. Here's Redbird trying to line up a Dazzle, but box dropped by Pop. And Mega get away with the 1 kill.
Yeah, a 1-for-0 exchange right there. It does manage to save the tower for INTZ, but just adding more for the bank on what I feel like is a very hard scaling composition from Mega. I feel like if you were going to contest the Sona Tarek in a 5v5, this is exactly what you want to do it with. Vladimir and Ryze.
Well, still towers staying up for INTZ. They actually still have mid outer and top outer because Mega's turret taking was all thanks to the Kalista free pushing. But Mills, you know, he's getting towards that Lich Bane, has the Sheen. As I watch again, I mean, G4 is playing with Envy at this point.
The Oscar goes to. I think that was literally them standing in the bush and be like, G4, go look delicious. See if this guy bites.
Again, Shinny there, ready for the counter gank, but not in time. The rest of the squad able to get out safely. Mega continuing to, again, play, you know, deliberate but proactive. And now looking for mid, actually, again, Sona is a great target if you can kill her before Tarek ult drops. But with Flash and Cleanse Up, feels relatively unlikely.
Also a really nice placed ward there on the mid lane that Lloyd is standing on. Basically gave information that they're probably baiting. Maybe someone's in that bush since Kalista's looking for the Fog of War ultimate. Good read by INTZ.
Mega also swapping things up. We got Rocky in the bottom lane right now, because of course there isn't an Ocean Drake, but won't be spawning for 2 more minutes here. As Mega, I think, mostly pouring resources into trying to take down this mid outer turret. Pop looks for the play. Onto Shinny, here's G4, gets impaled into the stun, and that's goodbye. No chance to pull. Great heads up play there from Shinny as the rest of the fight will continue. Good flash away from the Crescendo, but Pop gonna get Fates called out from Tay, who is charging in with that ulti at the ready.
Just a little bit too greedy there from G4. He's tested his luck. He did not have the reaction time that time around, and now suddenly INTZ are charging up the mid lane.
Yeah, he had flash pull, and Zhonya thought he was safe, and he was mistaken. Outer turret in mid goes to INTZ as they equalize, or almost equalize in structures. Looks like top lane tower did go down.
And that's going to be so much extra gold. And again, now we're getting to that point where INTZ, you said the Sona, the Tarek, they've been marinated long enough. They're now ready to be pulled out of the oven. We're going to start seeing them kind of clump up more or look for those opportunities where Hecarim's skirting back to his team and they're looking for those 5v5 moments.
Also certainly have to start thinking about Baron as well. You already mentioned it in Champs League for Skurin, that between the Kalista and the Kindred, pretty good Baron team there on the Mega side, and Sona, Tarek and friends may not be the fastest, but they really won't take much damage when there's just heals being spammed back and forth, even though the Tarek doesn't have a tier. This go around, still plenty of health to top up there, so certainly potential for teams to start it pretty freely.
I feel like it's the Q mash composition from INTZ. You got like the Skarner and the Hecarim, you just stay all bundled together and everyone's just smashing their Q key as quickly as possible.
It's true, Aurelia with the resets, Skarner, yeah, I like it. Don't need to face roll, just press the 1 button. That's what, watch this one again. G4 just too far forward.
Just test them. Don't ever think like, I can't do it, this guy's already beat me, he's just gonna pull. Just heads up play right there.
Nice flash from Lloyd, but on the Fates call, able to save the support. So Mega don't lose anything more from the play as Tay was charging in, but with this Ocean Drake spawning now in 5 seconds, Mega have had the monopoly on that bit of real estate all game long, so going to look to continue. Onslaught of Shutters pop low with the QSS. Now very vulnerable. There's the ulti from Envy. Pops into the Lamb's fight. What an ult there from from June. Now needs to rip the Ren down, but a good ult there from Shinny. Make sure the carry goes down. And ITZ, they're finding the fight. Finally, they group together. And it's a 2-for-0 win for them.
It looks like they just got overwhelmed right there in the mid lane. Good catch out on Lloyd. Yes, he popped the QSS, but he didn't have access to the flash. He was unable to disengage from it. We talked about that Death Bolt composition. It just rolls on top of you and you just wait to die.
And of course, plenty of fun interactions with Kindred ulti, but Shinny, I don't think he pulled Lloyd out and let him die, but you can, of course, do that when you lock down a carry, but Impale was certainly enough to make sure the Kalista was dead. And ITZ won the fight pretty handily from that point, and that's without, again, Tarik having too much in the way of items. Sona still looking to finish up that Lich Bane and really come online. Ocean Drake also wanting to continue to be taken here. Mega have decided that, no, we must take all the Drakes, so Rocky is currently on solo kill duty.
I mean, one of the nice things is that if you get into a situation where you can no longer look at the 5v5 across from INTZ's composition, by having so many dragons, let's say this is a hyper late game scenario, you can make them choose between taking the Baron, whereas an Elder can mean so much for you if you have so many dragons. So, you got it, flaunt it, look for it.
Well, Monopoly is ended. And that Drake will go over to INTZ, a heartbreaking reset on the Drake there for Rocky, who I think would have had it if they didn't leash back. But let's watch this fight again. Again, Lloyd feels like he's safe here, but not safe enough.
And it's the fact that he doesn't really have anything to get out of this position. You think maybe it looks good right here, because you're like, oh, the Lamb's Respite, he's going to load up so many Rin stacks, and then maybe just rip them out, and it'll be, it wasn't enough.
Got CC'd still. Tucked into the Impale. And again, Tay a little too low. So INTZ can't really continue from that point, but continuing to build strength. Also Trinity Force and the Wits End done. Great crescendo. Snare there finds two and Envy on a killing spree. Fate's Call gonna pull one up at Lloyd now. Just a double kill fed over to Mega as Rocky gets in the Realm Warp and out to safety. But again, INTZ resoundingly win the fight.
And the key thing is the fact that they lost their jungler. June is dead, so INTZ can now walk towards this Baron and say, you must actually fight us for it.
In some ways, maybe lost the two biggest threats around the pit with Kalista dead and, of course, June being down. I mean, Rise and Blight can make a go of this. But we'll see if Pop maybe it's going to peek his head in. G4 looking for that flank position, but Shinny, again, just trying to zone them away. Has the Impale. If he needs to try and lock somebody up, so now it's just up to Pop, but there's no chance for him to steal it with a Q. Is body block just in case, and that's Baron, INTZ.
Yeah, and it was the threat of the fact that INTZ still had so many key ultimates left to them, that they had the Impale, that Hecarim still had access to the Onslaught of Shadows, so excellent job from INTZ, and it feels like they're finally now fully in the driver's seat, that their composition has come online, that they now have the Baron behind them, something that they really rely on to siege these towers because they don't have a traditional ADC in the composition, so it should be pretty cut and dry here. We'll see, though.
I mean, might not be playing a traditional marksman, but certainly still has the aim on point. That was a great crescendo here from Mills, as we'll see again.
Yeah, and beautiful use of the vision. And this is something that INTZ have struggled with, was their vision game. Very clean wards right there to set up that crescendo, and they just mowed Mega down.
Certainly have the tools to play the pickoff, so we'll see what the Baron gets done here for the Brazilians. 2.5 minutes left to try and push. Want to try and at least equalize the turrets, if not do significantly more damage than that. But 3 items for Aurelia, 2 there for the Sona, 2.5 there for Tay. Certainly ready to go here.
Also have the flash available for Shinyi if they do feel like getting pretty frisky under this tower.
If you find an angle, certainly plenty of good targets to choose from if you can get the kills happening. Tay, of course, going to take the easy turrets first. He has the TP in case he needs to join. Also level 16 on the Hecarim, but takes that first outer turret with ease.
And I expect this 4-1 to actually be the play out here for INTZ, because while we have seen Shinyi get very frisky with the flash ultimates, the fact of the matter is you're still then trying to dive someone like a Kindred as well as a Vladimir, and that would be one of the key ways that Mega would be able to turn this game on its head.
Nice, actually some Predator there from Shinny, just to threaten with the ultimate. Gives them room to take down the tier 2 turret. Tay, of course, has kind of synced the waves up to take this one here in bot lane. So they went to 4 turrets and now go ahead in structures and move to 5. And it really just is one of those inhibitor turrets, kind of the gold standard for Baron power plays, especially the first one.
Taking a lot of damage from those creeps.
They hurt. He's only got so many spells he can throw at them.
Here we go, 1-3-1 being set up.
Gonna take this top tier 2 again. Do all the easy stuff here for INTZ. Maximize your gold gain off this Baron. Still a minute 10 left on it, so plenty to keep playing for here as Tay is gonna move these minions up towards this bottom inhibitor turret.
What is important is that Tay did use the teleport to respond to the bottom wave, so it tells me that ITZ really are just here for sieging the objectives. Although, as I say that, Tay is actually pinging on the way and running over. Okay, no, he's going for the mid lane. That really scared me. I was like, when you use your TP like that, instead of using it to all-in engage and look for the dive potential, it's just, we're just here for objectives. We're not going to dive. We're not going to try to throw this. This is a precarious situation. We're just going to play it out very cautiously and very respectfully.
The rarely seen 4-1-1 where somehow one champion gets into two lanes. Thankfully, Hecarim's very fast, so Tay looking just to run between the two and apply pressure where he can. ITZ now going to move everyone into the mid lane, try and find a pick in transition, but Mega taking relatively safe routes. Don't eat poke just yet. The mid inhibitor turret though is taking a beating as Hook is going to miss. Was looking for Envy or Mills and finds neither.
And they've now kicked Shinny out into that side lane. He's picking up another wave, and yep, this is ITZ just slowly chipping away, polling Mega around the map. Maybe if something looks good for them, they spring forward and grab a pick, but it's just about the damage.
Looks like the last Baron wave. Dodo, good ult there. Will take down the Rise. That's good by Rocky as ITZ now have room to try and take down the turret. Shinny taking a few turret hits as Jun's down to the backline. G4 dives in, weren't able to take down Shinny, but again, dance back in. Envy just trying to pop off in the back of the team fight, and that's Callista dead. They just have nowhere to go but their own fountain as ITZ diving straight under the turret, ignoring the structures, and they'll get it on the end as the cherry on top.
And that was the pick that looked good. It was the fact that Rocky stepped way too far forward. Shinny immediately clapped the trap right there, and suddenly they've mowed through all of Mega and don't look to be stopping.
No need to worry about the middle inhibitor there either. Going to go straight for the kill here. Nexus turret number 1 is going to go down. Stun's going to land in onto June, who will evaporate with the redemption flying down, and ITZ yet to pick up a win until right now, smashing Mega through this mid game, gonna take down the Nexus.
Much better performance this time around from INTZ. They showed that creativity. We said, you know, there's a clear divide between the top 2 teams and the bottom 2 teams, and it feels like the top 2 teams came with creative compositions. They were ready for the Sonateric. They had things like the Heimerdinger, and it springboarded them ahead. INTZ were playing standard. They threw that out the window. They themselves grabbed the Sonateric, and they executed on it.
I think the tagline for that game for me is that escalated quickly. Because Mega, I feel like they had things in the right places. They were picking up Drakes. They were using the strength of the champions they picked in the early game and focusing down the bottom lane. Jung was picking up Marks. Their 2 solo lanes are picking up Farm. And then the mid game rolls around. INTZ